So good morning all. Let's begin with today's session. Look at the first question. The elephant census divided India into 4 regions. Which of the following correctly represents these regions? Western Ghats, absolutely correct. Second statement is Central India and the Eastern Ghats, correct. Third one is Shivalik Hills and Gangetic Plains, again correct. And the fourth one is the Northeastern Hills in the Brahmaputra floodplains, also correct. Right? So recently elephant census was conducted by using the DNA technique. तो डीएनए को फर्स्ट टाइम इस्तेमाल किया गया और उसका इस्तेमाल करते हुए एलिफेंट सेंसस को कंडक्ट किया गया और पूरी कंट्री को 4 डिफरेंट जो रीजन्स है उसमें डिवाइड कर दिया गया. करेक्ट आंसर वुड बी डी फॉर दिल्ली 1, 2, 3 and 4. Look at the explanation part. So look at this one. India has 22,446 elephants according to the latest census findings released on October 15th, 2025. Support for the local communities is vital for the pachyderm. अब यहाँ पे जो pachyderm है इसका मतलब क्या है? जो टर्म है it is a Greek term which means the thick skinned animals like elephant, like rhinoceros, like hippopotamus. Clear? So उनके conservation के लिए किसकी जरूरत है? Community participation की जरूरत है. Plus the new nationwide estimate is unique as it uses the DNA based marking recapture technique for the first time in India. Next one is the Western Ghats that harbors the largest number of elephants in India at around 11,934. The population is spread across Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. इसमें भी सबसे ज़्यादा जो population है it is in Karnataka. Right? So do remember these facts. अब अभी आपने देखा होगा अभी हाल ही में लाइक एक दिन पहले एक एक्सीडेंट हुआ असम में जिसमें लाइक 10 के ऊपर जो एलिफेंट्स का एक हर्ड है वो मारा गया है ट्रेन के साथ कोलिजन में. सो दिस इज़ अ सैड स्टेट ऑफ अफेयर. अब चलते हैं हम नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन की तरफ दोस्तों. सो लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. विद रेफरेंस टू द ग्लोबली इंपॉर्टेंट एग्रीकल्चरल हेरिटेज सिस्टम recognized by the Food and Agriculture Organization, consider the following questions. How many GIAHS sites are currently located in India? So total कितनी sites हैं present में India में? That is 3. So C for Calcutta would be the correct answer, right? Let's move on to the explanation part. So first one is situated in Koraput region of Odisha. Then the second one is situated in the location of Kerala, and the third one is situated in Kashmir. Kashmir mein there's a famous like location called Pampore, and Pampore is famous for saffron cultivation, right? So GIAHS are unique land use systems and landscape full of life and biodiversity, resilient ecosystems and valuable cultural heritages managed by the farmers, herders and the fisher folks and tribals. Clear? So अभी प्रेजेंट में इंडिया में टोटल कितने हैं? टोटल 3 हैं, याद रखिएगा इसको. ठीक है, चलिए. तो 72 सिस्टम्स हैं इन 23 कंट्रीज, उसमें से इंडिया में 3 है. डू रिमेंबर. नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. द ब्यूनस आयर्स प्लान ऑफ एक्शन, it is significant because of what? It is significant because of the South-South cooperation. So B for Bombay would be the correct answer. Look at the explanation part. So look at this one. Correct answer is like the South-South cooperation means cooperation among the like the developing countries. Clear? The least developed countries, the third world countries basically, right? तो third world countries although पुराना term है, लेकिन अगर हम present में बात करें जो cooperation है between the least developed countries and the developing countries, that is the South-South cooperation, right? The evolution of the South-South triangular cooperation. The United Nations Office for the South-South cooperation, it was created on 1974 to promote economic cooperation among the developing countries. Buenos Aires Plan of Action 1978 adopted by the 130 UN member states, establishing the first framework for the like South-South cooperation and emphasizing solidarity, mutual respect and shared learnings. फिर उसके बाद में Nairobi Outcome Document of 2009 and then the India UN Development Partnership Fund in 2017 was set up to finance demand-driven South-South triangular cooperation projects. And then the United Nations declared the new opportunities and innovation through SSTC as the theme for the 2025 UN Day for the South-South triangular cooperation. Do remember these things? Chaliye, now let's move on to the next question. So what is the common characteristic of the chemical substances generally known as Cl20, China Lake 20, HMX, LLM105 which are sometimes talked about in media. It is a previous year question, 2025 UPSC Prelims का question है. Correct answer is B for Bombay, that is these are explosives in military weapons. Clear? So let's move on to the explanation part. Explanation part में चलते हैं. Look at this one. The CL-20, China Lake-20, HMX, LM-105 ये सब क्या हैं? ये सब military graded explosives हैं, right? And basically इसको बनाने का काम इंडिया में कौन कर रहा है? That is high energy material institution and it is based in Pune. चलिए, now let's move on to the next question. So question number 5 is there. With reference to the Geo-Parsi scheme, consider the following statements. First statement says it is a central sector scheme. Absolutely correct. देखिए दो तरह की schemes हैं. First one is the central sector scheme and the second one is the central sponsored scheme. Central sector scheme, it is entirely funded by the central government. तो इसका जो total expenditure है वो कौन bear करेगा? वो central government bear करेगी, right? Central sector scheme का तो it is 100% funded by the central government, whereas the central sponsored schemes that is shared between both the union and the state. Clear? Now it depends on the state and union understanding. अभी हम देख रहे हैं कि मनरेगा का एक नया रिप्लेसमेंट सरकार लेकर के आ रही है, तो मनरेगा का जो रिप्लेसमेंट है उसमें जो रेशो है दैट इज 60-40. So 60 shared by the union and 40 shared by the state, right? So the first statement is absolutely correct. और किसको अरेस्ट करने के लिए हुआ है? To implement, it is implemented by the Ministry of Affairs to arrest the decline of the Parsi population. Absolutely correct. Second statement says the scheme was launched during the 2013-2014, focuses on scientific and structured interventions to stabilize Parsi population. Again correct. This scheme provides financial assistance only for medical treatment. No, that is not correct. There is a catch. Only for the medical treatment. I have always told you कि जब भी इस तरह के एब्सोल्यूट स्टेटमेंट्स आते हैं प्लीज बी अटेंटिव, राइट? सो यहाँ जो टर्म यूज हो रहा है ये आपको अटेंटिव बना रहा है और ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ मेडिकल फील्ड के लिए इसका इस्तेमाल किया जाए, मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट के लिए ही इस स्कीम का इस्तेमाल हो रहा है. थर्ड स्टेटमेंट इज इनकरेक्ट हियर. सो 1 and 2 both are correct. Look at the fourth statement. Benefits under the scheme are transferred to the eligible beneficiaries through the direct benefit transfer after verification by the state governments. Absolutely correct. So 1, 2 and 4 are correct. B for Bombay would be the correct answer क्योंकि question पूछा हुआ है which of the statements given above are correct. Correct answer would be B for Bombay, 1, 2 and 4. Now let's move on to the explanation part. So look at this one. The Geo-Parsi is a central sector scheme implemented by the Ministry of Minority Affairs, right? The scheme was launched in 2013-2014. Clear? The scheme does not limit assistance only to medical treatment. It has 3 components: medical component, health of the community component and advocacy, मतलब counseling, outreach program and awareness campaign. Clear? So do remember all these important areas. चलिए आगे चलते हैं नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन की तरफ. सो जस्ट मोमेंट. तो दिस इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट है ना. स्टेटमेंट नंबर 1 क्या था? इट इज अ सेंट्रल सेक्टर स्कीम इंप्लीमेंटेड बाय द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ माइनॉरिटी अफेयर्स, राइट? चलिए आगे मूव करते हैं. क्वेश्चन नंबर 6. With reference to the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, INSPACE, consider the following statements. First statement says, INSPACE is an autonomous agency under the Department of Space. Absolutely correct. And Department of Space जो है that directly comes under the PMO, right? तो सीधे Prime Minister of India के supervision में होता है. Second statement says it was created as a part of India's space sector reform to facilitate private sector participation. Again correct. Third statement says it functions as the primary research and development arm of India's space program. No, that's the role of ISRO, not the role of INSPACE. So third statement is incorrect here. Question is, which of these statements given above are correct? Correct answer would be 1 and 2. मतलब A for Ahmedabad would be the correct answer. Now let's move on to the explanation part. So what is the ultimate aim of the INSPACE? It was established to enable participation of the private players and the non-government entities, right? चलिए, now let's move on to the next question. So question number 7. With reference to International Atomic Energy Agency, under the nuclear liability frameworks, consider the following statements. First statement says, the IAEA acts as a depository for the international legal instruments on civil liability for the nuclear damage. Absolutely correct. Second statement says, The Vienna Convention on Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage is one such instrument for which the IAEA is depository. Again correct. The third statement says the Convention on the Supplementary Compensation for Nuclear Damage, it was adopted to establish a minimum national compensation amount. Again correct. So which of these statements given above are correct? Correct answer would be B for Bombay. That would be 1, 2 and 3. All these statements are correct here. Basically why this topic is in news, you need to understand. See, government came up with a new bill, and the new bill, it abolishes the Civil Nuclear Liability Act of 2010. It also abolishes the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board's एग्जीक्यूटिव स्टेटस, उसको वो क्या दे रहे हैं, स्टैट्यूटरी स्टेटस प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, ठीक है। तो अब यहाँ अपोजिशन सरकार पे एलिगेशंस लगा रही है कि समवेयर सरकार ये सब कुछ ट्रम्प के प्रेशर में कर रही है इन ऑर्डर टू अलाइन द इंडियाज डोमेस्टिक लॉ विद द इंटरनेशनल conventions and international treaty by compromising India's national interest in the atomic sector. Clear? So करेक्ट आंसर तो हो गया बी फॉर बॉम्बे, दैट इज 1, 2, 3। क्यों न्यूज में है वो भी मैंने आपको बताया। चलिए नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन टू दी एक्सप्लेनेशन पार्ट। सो लुक एट दिस वन, ये जो दो कॉन्वेंशंस हैं बेहद इंपॉर्टेंस रखती हैं। वियना कॉन्वेंशन ऑन सिविल लाइबिलिटी फॉर द न्यूक्लियर डैमेज, इट इज अमंग द कॉन्वेंशंस डिपॉजिटेड विद द IAEA, राइट। इसको एक बार हम देख लेते हैं, जस्ट मोमेंट। आप देखिए यहाँ पे, look at the title here. So Trump signs law wants India's nuclear liability aligned with the global norms. Clear? तो जो शांति बिल है इसके थ्रू अटेम्प्ट हो रही है सिविल न्यूक्लियर लाइबिलिटी एक्ट 2010 को अबॉलिश करने के लिए और उसको रिप्लेस करने की, ठीक है। चलिए मूव करते हैं आगे। सो लुक एट द क्वेश्चन नंबर 8। विद रेफरेंस टू द कन्वेंशन ऑन सप्लीमेंट्री कॉम्पनसेशन ऑफ न्यूक्लियर डैमेज, कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट्स। इट वाज अडॉप्टेड इन 97, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट। It seeks to create an international fund to supplement national compensation in case of the nuclear damage. Absolutely correct. देखिए इसके अंदर बेसिकली दो फंड्स हैं। एक तो है the national fund in case of any nuclear damage, in case of any nuclear accident, और दूसरा है यहाँ पे that is the international fund beyond the national fund. Clear? तो अगर नेशनल फंड्स जो हैं वो अगर नेशनल कैलेमिटी को अगर न्यूक्लियर डिजास्टर को कोप अप करने की सिचुएशन में नहीं है, इन दैट केस कौन सा फंड यहाँ पे यूज किया जा सकता है, इस इंटरनेशनल फंड को टू यूज बियॉन्ड दी कैपेसिटी। तो नेशनल फंड के बियॉन्ड अगर हमें यूज करना है तो हम इस इंटरनेशनल फंड का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। सो इट सीक्स टू क्रिएट एन इंटरनेशनल फंड टू सप्लीमेंट नेशनल कॉम्पनसेशन इन केस ऑफ एनी न्यूक्लियर डैमेज। तो अगर इंटेंसिटी बहुत ज़्यादा है और अगर नेशनल न्यूक्लियर फंड अगर इसको कोप अप करने की सिचुएशन में नहीं है, कॉन्वेंशन के अंदर आप इंटरनेशनल फंड जो है उसको अवेल करने के लिए आप रिक्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं। द थर्ड स्टेटमेंट सेज इंडिया रेटिफाइड द कन्वेंशन इन 2016। सो बोथ दी स्टेटमेंट्स आर करेक्ट हियर। So which of these statements given above are correct? Correct answer would be B for Bombay, that is 1, 2, 3. So all these statements are correct here, right? Look at this one. So what we did, we included both the conventions here. Vienna Convention को भी हमने explain कर दिया है और यहाँ पे हमने supplementary compensation convention जो है इसको भी explain किया है। यहाँ पे देखिए ये तो हमने बात करी ली है। It was adopted in 97 and it functions as an umbrella convention creating a framework for the supplementary international compensation over and above the national liability amount. India ratified the CSC in 2016, aligning its domestic nuclear liability regime with the international standards. Now look at this one, the Vienna Convention on the Civil Liability for the Nuclear Damage. It was signed in 1963 and came into effect in 1977. Clear? So do remember. चलिए आगे मूव करते हैं। तो बेसिकली वियना कॉन्वेंशन क्या करिए, वियना कॉन्वेंशन एक लीगल फ्रेमवर्क को स्टैब्लिश कर रही है टू प्रोवाइड कॉम्पनसेशन इन केस ऑफ एनी न्यूक्लियर डिजास्टर। क्लियर? और इसका एक प्रोटोकॉल भी है जो 97 में आया था और ये क्या करता है, इस कॉम्पनसेशन लिमिट को एनहांस करने का काम करता है। मूव करेंगे आगे हम। So look at the question number 9. With reference to Rampa Temple, consider the following statements. It is located in the state of Telangana. Absolutely correct. It was constructed during the reign of the Kakatiya Empire in the era of 13th century. Again correct. Third statement says this temple is probably the only temple in India that is named after the architect of this temple, not the deity. Again correct. So which of these statements given above are correct? Correct answer would be, that would be D for Delhi, 1, 2 and 3. So all these statements are correct here. Now let's move on to the explanation part. यहाँ पे देखिए. So it was constructed in 1213 AD during the reign of Kakatiya King Ganpati Deva by his general Rudra. Clear? This temple is not named after the deity but it is named after its chief sculptor Rampa, which is rare in Indian temple architecture. याद रखिए इंडियन टेम्पल आर्किटेक्चर में जैसे नॉर्दर्न इंडिया है तो नॉर्दर्न इंडिया में वी हैव द नागर टेम्पल आर्किटेक्चर, सदर्न इंडिया में वी हैव द द्रविड़ा टेम्पल आर्किटेक्चर, और इन दोनों का जो ब्लेंड है, जो इन दोनों का कॉम्बिनेशन है, जो इनका मिक्सचर है, दैट इज नोन एज द वेसर आर्किटेक्चर और बेसर आर्किटेक्चर, राइट। एंड ऑल्सो रिमेंबर कि ये एक स्टार लाइक शेप पे ये टेम्पल बेस्ड है, स्टार लाइक प्लेटफॉर्म पे, और यहाँ पे एक सैंडबॉक्स टेक्निक का इस्तेमाल किया गया है जो कि एक बेसिकली अर्थक्वेक रेजिस्टेंट फाउंडेशन है, एक अर्थक्वेक रेजिस्टेंस टेक्निक है। विच वन? द सैंडबॉक्स टेक्निक। यू कैन सी हियर the ambassador and the permanent representatives of the India to UNESCO reviews the conservation work at the Rampa temple, right? So this was in news recently, so we covered this question from this article. Now let's move on to the next question. Question number 10. So with reference to the Doppler weather radars in India, consider the following statements. The first one is India currently has 47 Doppler weather radars operational across the country. Correct statement. Second is Doppler weather radars cover about 87% of India's total geographical area. Again correct. Third statement is all Doppler weather radars in India operates only in X band frequency. No, that's not the case. और भी frequencies हैं, S है, C frequency है. So not only X but S and C as well. So which of these statements given above are correct? Only 1 and 2. Third statement is incorrect here. Clear? Let's move on to the explanation part. यहाँ देख सकते हैं आप, अभी हाल ही में एक आर्टिकल पब्लिश हुआ था, Doppler weather radars now covers 87% of India's total area, right? And uses S band, C band and X band frequencies. Clear? Now let's move on to the next question. Question number 11. With reference to the geographical location of the Socotra archipelago, consider the following statements. It lies in the Arabic Sea. Correct है. It is politically part of Yemen. Again correct. It is geographically considered the part of the African continent. It is also correct. Which of these statements given above are correct? Correct answer would be D for Delhi, 1, 2 and 3. So all these statements are correct here. Now let's move on to the explanation part. So basically अभी न्यूज़ में क्यों था, एक साइक्लोन अभी हाल ही में आया था, दितवा, ठीक है, और श्रीलंका में इसमें काफ़ी ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट हुआ है, और ये बेसिकली जो है इट रेफर्स टू अ लगून, एंड दिस लगून इज लोकेटेड वेयर, इट इज़ लोकेटेड इन दिस आर्कीपेलागो विच इज़ कंट्रोल्ड बाय यमन. क्लियर? इसलिए ये आइलैंड यहाँ पे, ये आर्कीपेलागो इसलिए न्यूज़ में था, राइट. आगे मूव करते हैं. डू रिमेंबर इट इज़ नोन फॉर इट्स एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी बायोडाइवर्सिटी लाइक द गैलापागोस आर्कीपेलागो. क्लियर? तो इट इज समटाइम्स नोन एज द गैलापागोस ऑफ द इंडियन ओशन. मैप में एक बार देख लीजिएगा इसको, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो लुक एट दिस वन, दिस इज द आइलैंड, this one. So it is situated between the Arabic Sea and here we have the Indian Ocean, right? ये रहा आपके सामने, and this is politically controlled by Yemen, but geographically it comes under the African continent. Clear? चलिए, now let's move on to the next question. So last question है आज के सेशन का ये. Consider the following statements. Previous year question है UPSC 2025 का. Statement number 1 says the Supreme Court of India has held in some judgments that the reservation policies made under Article 16 Clause 4 of the Constitution of India would be limited by Article 335 for the maintenance of the efficiency of administration. Absolutely correct statement. See, what Article 16 Clause 4 says? So, it says that nothing in Article 16 Clause 1 shall restrict the state to frame the policies in favor of the other backward classes and the SCs and STs. But provided it should not compromise the efficiency of the administration. So always remember Article 16 Clause 4 is to be read with Article 335 of the Constitution. Why? Because Article 16 Clause 4 says that okay, the state can take the affirmative action. Reservation policy क्या है? Basically a positive discrimination policy and affirmative action. So you can take the affirmative action. You can implement the reservation policy, but at the same time you should also ensure that the administrative efficiency is not compromised. So statement number 1 is absolutely correct here. Look at the statement number 2. Article 335 of the Constitution of India, it defines the term efficiency of administration. This statement is absolutely incorrect, right? Why? Because the constitutional silence is there on this definition. तो देयर इज अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल साइलेंस. याद रखिएगा कोई डेफिनेशन ऐसी अवेलेबल नहीं है अंडर आर्टिकल 335 में. सो द सेकंड स्टेटमेंट इज इनकरेक्ट हियर. अब क्वेश्चन इज विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज करेक्ट इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ द अबव स्टेटमेंट. कॉमन सेंस की बात है, स्टेटमेंट नंबर 1 इज करेक्ट एंड स्टेटमेंट नंबर 2 इज इनकरेक्ट। तो यहाँ पे क्या हो जाएगा करेक्ट आंसर? स्टेटमेंट नंबर 1 is correct but the statement number 2 is incorrect. So C for Calcutta would be the correct answer here, right? Now let's move on to the explanation part. So you can see here, Supreme Court in various cases like Indira Sahni judgment, in Jarnail Singh judgment stated that reservation policies cannot undermine the administrative efficiency, and Article 335 acts as a constitutional limitation on Article 16 clause 4, right? And no such definition is available in Article 335. Clear है? It was a very simple question. So guys, this was the last question of this session. मिलेंगे हम अपने next session के साथ में. Bye bye, take care, जय हिंद.